We're speaking today with Randy Burry of Good Samaritan, and one of the topics that has been come out of the whole pandemic is whether or not the media relations have been fair to long-term care or to the health care in general, to the various, perhaps long-term care in particular, and whether or not they have learned, the media have changed any throughout the pandemic once the news has covered our industry in the greatest degree it has ever done so before. What did you think happened?
Well, I think share the sentiments of a lot of people that I saw my share of negative stories, right? That
Yes.
it's like all these bad things happening in nursing homes, and how frustrating that is when you know that there's always a very, very small minority where bad things might be happening or could happen, but the overwhelming care that's provided in our buildings is provided by great, caring, dedicated staff. But as that occurred, especially earlier in the pandemic, we kind of took it upon ourselves as a company to kind of lean into that. And I think it's the responsibility of all of us in the industry I told all of our executives, we're going to take every media, every interview that gets offered to us. We're never going to say no. We have a media team that made it their mission to go out and find positive stories and we've done countless positive stories because there are so many.
Yes.
And that's not unique to Good Sam. We do a great job, but I know a lot of providers do. And there's so many positive stories out there that I think it's incumbent on us to not just complain about the negative ones, which I can do with the best of them, but it's our responsibility then to change the message, to change that message and get out the overwhelming number of positive stories that are there. And what I found is that the media is always interested in a good story.
Right.
And they're not looking to do, I don't think, necessarily a negative or a positive story. They just need a story that's going to resonate with viewership and be something of interest to people.
Exactly.
So when we would identify great, positive stories, we just had a 111-year-old woman that's a World War II veteran, had her 111th birthday. Well, that's an opportunity to let the media know that's going on and we're having a party. And I can guarantee you, when you go out of your way to pitch those positive stories, you'll get a lot of coverage. And it can help change that message to one of a more positive tone.
Well, that's certainly the best direction to go, and we've talked to lots of companies that just really don't want anything to do with the media, and you can understand that too. They've been burned,
right?
Burned badly. So, what would you say to encourage them to open the door?
I'd say no one can change that except us. I mean, because I don't like it either, but to rather than, because I think it's one of those things. The other thing we'll never do as a company is we just don't do no comment. That's kind of the equivalent when you turn down an interview. That's kind of like no comment. I think you need to view those things as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to get your message out and tell your story and constantly pitch the positive side of what you're doing, because it will never change without that. I mean, you have to lean into it. I just don't know of any other way to manage that. But I know for certain you can't kind of hide from it. You can't turn down those opportunities, or it will not change.
Excellent. Well, another thing that Good Sam has done, besides look to currying good media coverage, is you've been one of the first major companies to mandate vaccination with your employees.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of debate and discussion about that, but I still remain very proud of the fact that we were one of the first, if not the first, large long-term care companies to mandate. When we started to see a few breakthrough cases, and having been through what the industry went through in the earlier phases of COVID, we said, we've got a tool now, we've got a vaccine, we didn't have a tool for a long, long time, where there was nothing we could do. But now that we have that tool, we can't sit idly by and just be okay with the fact that we're not using the tool. And so that's what we did. We said, no, we're going to mandate. And we did it at a time when The government hadn't announced it yet. No other large companies had announced it yet. So I think we took a risk. It's still a risk. I mean, our deadline is November 1st, and we're going to have some people furloughed and ultimately not have a job with us anymore. But I think if you maintain that the safety, the well-being of the residents is really what our main concern is, well, then I think you have to be that adamant on the vaccine. And it leads you right into the staffing question.
Yes.
And we are as concerned about staffing as anybody. We're in a large geographic area, and I know, I'm not under any illusion, I know that the mandate especially in a few areas, depending a little bit on geography, will be more of a problem than other parts of the country where the vaccination rate is just higher in the community. But I also believe, I'll say it this way, I think the mandate and the vaccine question gets too much play when it comes to any dialogue around staffing. If COVID was gone tonight, if it went away, and we all said we don't need a mandate because COVID's gone, and COVID is just off the table, we'd still have a staffing crisis. It gets a I think the mandate, tying the mandate to staffing and all the concern over that, it's a disproportionate amount of attention on only one segment of the staffing issue. And if that segment was cured tomorrow, we'd still have a crisis, and we'd still have to be dealing with staffing shortages. So, I don't mean to minimize it or underplay, because I know we'll have our own issues with it.
Yes.
But because of the fact that it was so overwhelmingly the right thing to do for residents, and we still see it in our buildings. I mean, we've got two things going on in our buildings. We've got a few breakthrough cases, of residents that got the vaccine, but they tend to be almost all cases, very minor clinically. And then we've got a much larger number of unvaccinated staff that are still getting sick. And it's just, people question data and, well, I don't know about COVID, if it's fake or what. I don't need anybody else's data. I don't need anybody else's information than our own companies. We went from hundreds and hundreds of positive residents and positive employees, going into late last year of 20. When the vaccine rolled out, it was just like dropping off a cliff, our numbers from January till June, where we got down to 0 and then fluctuated, with just a few breakthrough cases or a few unvaccinated until the Delta variant came along. And so, the vaccine works. It's that simple. The vaccine works. And so to not use it, and in our case, reaching a decision to not mandate it, we just thought that was the wrong approach.
Well, you were ahead of the game, and now the president is backing you. So
yes,
we'll see what that does.
Yeah, we were really happy with when it first came out. Of course, the mandate for long-term care,
nursing homes,
and I think through ACA and Mark Parkinson's leadership and all of the noise we all made.
We did make a lot of noise.
We got that changed to all healthcare workers, which I think helps the staffing equation. But again, that's, like I said, that's not a cure.
It's not the only problem.
It's not the only problem.
Anything further you'd like to add to this issue?
I think that covers it. Just, as always, I'd like to thank all of our staff and all the workers across the country working in long-term care.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.